So this is the story of how I got deported from Roatán, Honduras. And I can laugh about it now, but so I, as some of you know who like to travel internationally, America's been having passport issues, passport renewal issues, initial passport issues. Came back from Roatán in March of 2023. I have a good friend and we're dive buddies and dive watch. We love to go scuba diving there. And so we decided to book our next trip for September 9th of this year. And when I booked the trip, my passport expired on October 15th. And I thought, well, you know, I kind of checked into how long passports were taking to renew. And at that point, they were saying 6 months. And then I heard 9 months. And then I heard a year. And it was on the news over the summertime that there was a big problem with it. And the problem is, if you renew your passport, you've got to send your physical passport in. And I thought, what if I don't get my passport back in time? Then I can't go. So I was like, well, okay, this shouldn't be any problem. I'll have 30 days left on my passport when I go. Oh, there was a problem. So land in Honduras, super excited. My friend Beth is like 1 hour ahead of me, already on the shuttle, drinking Salvavita beer. And just super hyped, you know, gonna have a great trip planned. There's gonna be a festival there, a fishing tournament. You know, I've got friends in Honduras and I made more, but anyway, we'll get to that. And so I'm in line and one of the agents calls me up, just, you know, it's random, whoever's open next. And I hand her my passport and she goes like this and kind of looks down, like looks defeated. And I was like, oh shit. And she goes, your passport doesn't have enough time on it. And I said, what? She said, you have to have 90 days before your passport expires to be let into this country. She goes, it's immigration law. And I said, is there anything I can do about it? And she said, no, you have to go home. They immediately take me into the immigration office. And I'm just floored. I mean, I'm in shock. And then I started crying, you know, and they were really, really wonderful. They were so nice. And so they would have literally sent me home that day if there had been any openings left on the last plane out, but there wasn't. So I got to stay the night there, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, because I was an illegal immigrant at that point. And they said, we have to put you up in a hotel. We have to feed you dinner and breakfast before you go back. And they got me on a flight the next day. And you're, you know, basically you're detained. But, you know, it wasn't like jail, but I was in their custody. And so I had a wonderful agent named Kayla who just absolutely, her English is freaking amazing. It's amazing how many people on that island, how well they speak English, way better than I speak Spanish. And she was absolutely wonderful. And well, of course, we had to have receipts for everything to turn it back in to the government. And we went and we found a cheap seafood place, and my friends got to meet up with us, and got to meet some of Kayla's family. They stopped by, and it was just wonderful. I mean, I'm going to try not to cry when I say this. You know, we had a discussion at the table about the way that America treats their illegal immigrants versus the way they treated me. And I know it's kind of like comparing apples to oranges, because I worked in El Paso, which is a border town to Juarez, and took care of a lot of people who hurt themselves trying to cross the border. And if you've watched the news, you know, it's a problem everywhere. And I understand that what we're dealing with here in America is on a much larger scale. And they're also dealing with people that are, you know, coming for various reasons. Some are coming for mischief, but most are coming to flee oppression, violence, poverty. And it wasn't lost on me how well they treated me. And I just wish that maybe, I don't know, we could do better. I think there's always room for improvement. But so if you're traveling anywhere and your passport, actually places like the Bahamas, I guess they need you to have 6 months before you come over. And oh, one other thing, boo hiss to American, it is Honduran law that they have to make sure before I get on the plane to come overseas that all my documents are in order, that I have 90 days on my passport. I passed through 2 checkpoints, one in Omaha and one in Dallas. On the way out of the country, nobody said shit. So we're gonna have a discussion. But I will say they at least, I wasn't charged to rebook my flights to leave the country early. So check your passports. Also, another thing I found out, there are passport offices, like hubs per se, field offices in different major cities in the United States. Funny enough, when I worked in El Paso, there was one there. I could have gotten my passport renewed 2 years ago. But there's one in Dallas, so I'll be making a trip to Dallas in a couple of weeks just to get it done. Basically, I'm afraid that if I send my passport in to the government, they're so disorganized right now, they might lose it. How do I know I'm going to get anything back? So as my friend Beth says, I don't want to surrender my passport. I feel weird, So a lot of lessons learned. People of Roatán are amazing. I knew that though. But they just keep shining. They're some of the most beautiful, wonderful, kind people in the world. Shout out to them. Shout out to their immigration and customs office. And make sure you have time on your passport. And that's my story.